Imagine there's been a can of food in your refrigerator for several months, and now the day has come when you're more hungry than usual. You pick up the jar and see that the lid is slightly swollen. You take it off and sniff the contents. Everything seems to be all right, you think to yourself, and without hesitation eat what's inside. After a few hours, you're struck with paralysis of your whole body. You can't move or breathe. In 5 minutes, if there are no doctors around, you will most likely die. This is just one of the many ways to enter the other world. In this video, you're going to learn about the deadliest poisons that exist in nature. You know the Mad Hatter. This Alice in Wonderland character kept saying caustic things and behaving strangely. But the Mad Hatter isn't an invention of Lewis Carroll. You could actually have met such characters in the 19th century. The fact is that in the manufacture of felt, which served as a material for hats of those times, mercury was used. Its fumes caused severe poisoning, from which the Hatter went mad. Tremors, impaired coordination, hallucinations, and memory distortion are the main symptoms of mercury poisoning. In England, there was even a saying, "Mad as a Hatter." The ban on the use of mercury in production was introduced only in 1898. Up to this point, mercury was considered the cure for all diseases. It treated almost everything from depression to syphilis. For example, Lincoln used mercury antidepressants, though they didn't help the US president but only caused onslaughts of uncontrollable rage. And the healing glasses of liquid silver that the ancient Greeks used to treat constipation simply tore the human intestines apart. After all, mercury is heavier than gold and is not intended for everyday drinking. But it's far from the deadliest poison on Earth. Fans of James Bond movies have probably heard of cyanide, which secret agents carried in vials in case of capture. Hydrocyanic acid and cyanides, which constitute its salts, are found in the seeds of cherries, apricots, and peaches. To get poisoned, it's enough for a child to accidentally swallow 5 or 6 seeds from these berries. And if you eat 150 pieces at a time, an adult is guaranteed to go on into the next world. Hydrocyanic acid is also present in apple cores. If you eat an entire apple, don't worry. To die, you'd need to eat 2 kilograms of cores. It's unlikely that you'd be able to swallow so much in one sitting. Potassium cyanide is popular in spy movies for a reason. It has no taste or smell. The lethal dose is small, only 1/1200th of a gram. After consuming cyanide, a person almost instantly loses consciousness, and their respiratory system ceases functioning. The blood ceases to get enough oxygen, and the person dies. In Tsarist Russia, they tried to poison Grigory Rasputin with cyanide by putting it in a sweet pie, but the poison had no effect. After all, glucose is an antidote to potassium cyanide. So if you don't want to get poisoned with cyanide, keep a sugar cube in your cheek. But what sugar won't save you from is botulinum toxin poisoning. This is the deadliest poison that exists in nature. It only takes 0.3 of a microgram to die. 4 kilograms could kill everyone on the planet. Do you think it's being developed by scientists in military laboratories? Not quite. Botulinum bacilli live and reproduce in homemade sausage and bloated canned food, hence the name botulus, which means sausage in Latin. Surprisingly, one of the most dangerous poisons on the planet is used to smooth out wrinkles. The so-called Botox is a botulinum toxin, only in very low concentrations. From 1989 to 2003, 28 people died from Botox injections. Fortunately, scientists produce less botulinum toxin per year than an aspirin tablet, so the risk of human extinction is minimal. But there are places on Earth where you can sign a death pact with your own hands. We're talking about Japanese restaurants that serve delicious pufferfish. One such fish can easily kill 30 or 40 people. Its poison, tetrodotoxin, causes one of the most unpleasant deaths imaginable. After all, until the very end, you remain conscious, experiencing severe cramps throughout your body and suffering from paralysis of the respiratory muscles. To cook fugu, Japanese chefs study for years and then pass exams. However, several cases of poisoning from the dangerous delicacy are registered every year. There's no antidote to tetrodotoxin, so be careful when ordering the delicious dish. Another small but deadly creature lives in the Amazon jungle. Meet the golden poison frog, or the golden dart frog. Its skin secretes the powerful poison batrachotoxin. You shouldn't kiss such a frog if you don't want instant paralysis of the heart. Amazon natives catch these small creatures and rub their arrowheads on their skin to hunt other animals. A shot from a thin dart with batrachotoxin kills the victim in just a second. However, it's not necessary to travel to South America to get poisoned by the toxins of ordinary lead paint, which can be found on toys, furniture, and souvenirs. It's often used to paint walls and ceilings. Back in the 50s to 70s, almost all paints were produced with lead additive. It seems that this problem is in the past. In fact, in the year 2017, more than 1 million fatal cases of poisoning from this metal were recorded. Today, 73 nations have abandoned paints containing lead, but the problem remains global. This is especially true in third world countries. For example, in Russia, 2/3 of all paints are still produced with the addition of toxic metal. The worst thing is that lead tastes sweet. That's why children love to lick toys covered with this paint. Often, lead poisoning causes coma and convulsions. But even lead is hardly a poison of mass destruction. During World War I, Germany used chemical weapons for the first time in history. They tried to develop it for more than 100 years. Under the codename Lost, a group of German scientists developed a gas that causes irreversible consequences to the human body. The name of this gas is mustard gas. It didn't always kill its victims. After the bombardment of Ypres on the 12th of July, 1917, only 87 of the 2,500 British and French died. However, the rest of the soldiers received boils on their skin, damage to their respiratory tracts, and some were permanently blinded. When doctors opened the corpses of the poisoned soldiers, they found an almost complete absence of white blood cells in the bone marrow. Then scientists suggested that mustard gas could treat some types of cancer because it stopped the division of certain cells. After learning about this, chemists synthesized the so-called nitrogenous mustard gas, which was used in chemotherapy. A paradox, but the medicine chlormethine was created on the basis of weapons of mass destruction, which to this day saves lives. However, the development of chemical warfare agents hasn't stopped today. To find out the details, we have to look into the secret archives of the Russian KGB. In the USSR, The development of a poison that would be guaranteed to kill the target and not leave any traces was in full swing. A whole group of substances was created under the codename Novichok. To die from this poisoning, you don't need a lot nor to digest it. It's enough to get it on your skin, and you will inevitably die. An hour and a half after contact with the substance, you suddenly lose consciousness. You aren't able to recover. Then you go into a coma, tachycardia, and severe muscle spasms. The pupils almost stop responding to light. After a while, your heart rate drops to 40 beats per minute. There's swelling of the brain and lungs. The nervous and cardiovascular systems stop working. Death comes soon. To date, we know of at least 3 cases of poisoning with it, but none of them have been proven because Novichok is almost impossible to track. If you don't want to be poisoned by Novichok, don't contact the Russian KGB. But don't forget about other dangers in the world around you. Don't kiss Amazonian frogs. Be careful in Japanese restaurants. Avoid contact with lead paint. Beware of bloated canned food. And if you're depressed, don't drink a shot of mercury for good health. Take care of your health, and thanks for watching.